The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between two star systems. It was the most important place in the galaxy where all alien species met to make decisions. The station was huge, bigger than most moons, with silver walls that reflected the light of distant stars. President Geo Kim stood in the preparation room, checking his speech. One more time. He was a tall man with kind eyes and graying hair. At 55 years old, he had led Earth for 8 years and was loved by his people. It was the most important day of his life. He was going to ask the Galactic Council to change the rules so that younger species like humans could have more say in galaxy decisions. "Sir, they are ready for you," said Minho Park, his chief of security. Minho was a former soldier who had protected the president for 3 years. He was shorter than Jiho, but had the sharp eyes of someone who had seen many battles. Something felt wrong to him today, but he could not explain what. Jiho smiled and placed his hand on Minho's shoulder. "Don't worry, my friend. Today we make history. Today we show the galaxy that all species deserve to be heard." The main council chamber was enormous. Thousands of alien beings sat in curved rows that rose up like a giant bowl. There were the tall blue krill with their forearms, the small green Nexan with their big black eyes, and dozens of other species. At the center sat the Valdris Consortium, the oldest and most powerful group in the galaxy. They had ruled the council for over 2,000 years. Elder Vorthok of the Valdris watched President Kim walk to the speaking platform. The alien looked like a giant insect with golden skin and 6 legs. His compound eyes showed nothing but cold intelligence. Next to him sat the other Valdris leaders, all ancient beings who had lived for centuries. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," President Kim began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "I stand before you today not just as the leader of Earth, but as a voice for all species who believe in progress and equality." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some aliens leaned forward with interest. Others, especially the older species, sat back with obvious displeasure. For too long, our galaxy has been ruled by the same voices, the same old ways, same fear of change. Kim's voice grew stronger. But the universe is vast, and new ideas come from new minds. Young species like humanity have much to offer. Elder Vorthek's mandibles clicked together in annoyance. The human was saying exactly what they had feared he would say. "I propose that we change the voting system," Kim continued. "Instead of the oldest species having the most power, let us give every species a voice based on their population and their contributions to galactic society. Let us build a true democracy among the stars." The chamber erupted in noise. Some aliens cheered, while others hissed and clicked in anger. The Valdris section remained silent, but their stillness was more threatening than any sound. Minho Park stood at the edge of the speaking platform, his hand near his weapon. His military training made him watch the crowd carefully. He noticed something strange. Several aliens in different sections of the chamber were reaching into their robes at exactly the same time. "Sir," he whispered urgently into his communication device, "something is wrong. We need to leave. Now." But President Kim was lost in his speech. "The galaxy belongs to all of us," he declared. "Not just the oldest, but the youngest too. Not just the strongest, but the wisest. We must choose progress over tradition, hope over fear." Elder Vorthok raised one of his arms. It was a signal. Minho saw the movement and his blood went cold. "Get down," he shouted, jumping toward the president. The attack came from 12 different directions at once. Beams of purple light shot from hidden weapons across the chamber. These were quantum disruptors, weapons so dangerous they were banned by every galactic treaty. They did not just kill, they destroyed every atom in their path. Minho tackled President Kim to the floor, just as the first beam passed over their heads. The platform where Kim had been standing simply disappeared, turned into empty space by the terrible weapon. "We have to go," Minho yelled, pulling the president toward the emergency exit. But more beams were coming. One hit the wall behind them, creating a hole you could see space through. Kim stumbled, his leg hurt from the fall. "The speech," he gasped. "I have to finish the speech." The speech doesn't matter if you're dead, Minho replied, half carrying his leader toward safety. But they were too late. A beam struck President Kim in the chest. Minho watched in horror as the man he had sworn to protect began to fade away, his body destroyed by the quantum energy. Minho Kim whispered, his voice already weak. Tell them. Tell my people. ... They don't know what they've done. They don't know what humans really are when we're angry. Don't talk, Minho said, though he knew it was useless. Save your strength. Kim's eyes were growing dim. We've been peaceful for so long, they think. We're weak. But we're not weak, Minho. We're just good at waiting. The president's body faded completely, leaving only empty space where he had been. Minho stared at the spot where his friend and leader had died, feeling something cold and terrible growing in his chest. Around the chamber, other beams had struck human diplomats and guards. The attack had been planned to kill every human in the room. Only Minho had survived, hidden behind a piece of the destroyed platform. Elder Vorthek's voice echoed through the chamber. Let this be a lesson to all species. The old ways are the best ways. Change brings only chaos and death. The other Valdris leaders nodded in agreement. Around the chamber, many aliens looked shocked and afraid. But others, especially the older species, seemed satisfied. Minho activated his emergency beacon, calling for evacuation. As he waited for rescue, he looked at the spot where President Kim had died. The man's final words echoed in his mind. Galaxy had just made a terrible mistake. They had killed the one human who had kept his people's true nature in check, back on Earth. The news of the assassination would arrive in 6 hours. When it did, humanity would remember what they really were beneath all their talk of peace and democracy. They would remember that they were the species that had conquered their own world through endless wars, that had built weapons capable of destroying planets, that had learned to fight and win against impossible odds. The galaxy had just awakened, something that had been sleeping for 50 years. And when humanity's fury was finally unleashed, the stars themselves would tremble. As Minho was finally rescued by human ships, he looked back at Nexus Prime one last time. The station looked peaceful now, its silver walls reflecting starlight, as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. The galaxy had just signed its own death warrant, and it didn't even know it yet. The war was about to begin. The news hit Earth like a lightning bolt. Every screen, every communication device, every public announcement system carried the same terrible message. President Ji-ho Kim was dead, murdered by aliens while trying to bring peace to the galaxy. In the capital city of New Geneva, crowds gathered in the main square. People stood in complete silence, staring at the giant screens that showed the empty space where their leader had been killed. Some cried quietly. Others just stood there, their faces blank with shock. Some Inly sat in the emergency cabinet room deep beneath the government building. She had been vice president for 4 years, and now, at 42 years old, she was about to become the most powerful person on Earth. Her black hair was pulled back tight, and her dark eyes showed no emotion. But inside she felt like screaming. The alien fleets are celebrating, reported General Kyung-won, the head of military intelligence. He was an old man with gray hair and scars on his hands from the last war between human colonies. They think we'll just accept this and go away. Many humans died in the attack, Suman asked, her voice steady as ice. 47, answered Minho Park, who had arrived on Earth just hours before. His uniform was still torn from the escape, and his eyes held the look of a man who had seen too much. They tried to kill every human in that room. Admiral Dae-ho Choi entered the room carrying a sealed folder. He was 50 years old, tall and thin, with the kind of quiet confidence that came from commanding space fleets. Madam President, he said, I have the reports you requested. Sumin looked at him carefully. I'm not president yet. The funeral comes first.
Yes, ma'am.
But the orders you'll need to give, ... They should be ready. She opened the folder and read quickly. Her face showed nothing, but her hands gripped the papers tighter. Long have we been preparing for this? 30 years, Dae-ho replied. Ever. Since we first made contact with alien species, We hoped we'd never need these plans. On the surface, the funeral preparations began. President Kim's body was gone, destroyed by the quantum weapons, but humans needed something to mourn. They built a memorial in the center of New Geneva, a simple black stone with his name and the words he believed in peace. The funeral was broadcast to every human world, every space station, every ship in the void. 5 billion people watched. As Su-Min Lee stood before the memorial and spoke the words that would change everything. "My fellow humans," she began, her voice carrying across the solar system. "Today we say goodbye to a man who believed that words could change the galaxy, who believed that peace was possible between all species, believed that the future could be better than the past." The crowd was silent. Even the children stopped, crying. Jiho Kim died because he dared to dream of equality, died because he asked for fairness. He died because he believed that all species, young and old, deserved to be heard. Her voice grew harder. He died because some aliens think they own the galaxy. In the government buildings, Admiral Daeho Choi was already making calls. "Recall all civilian ships," he ordered. "Every human vessel, every diplomat, every trader. I want them all back in human space within 72 hours. "Sir, that's thousands of people," replied Captain Bora Kim, his chief of operations. "The aliens will ask questions. Let them ask. We're done answering." Across the galaxy, humans began to disappear. Trade ships that had been selling human goods for decades suddenly stopped appearing at alien ports. Human diplomats packed their bags and left without explanation. Human students at alien universities simply vanished overnight. The Krill Empire noticed first. Their trade minister, a tall blue alien named Corthex, sent worried messages to Earth. "Where are your people?" he demanded. "We have contracts to honor." Messages went unanswered. Dr. Yuniseo worked in a secret facility beneath the mountains of Old Korea. She was the head of human intelligence, though most aliens didn't know. Such an organization existed. Her job was to know everything about every alien species in the galaxy. And she was very good at her job. "Ma'am," said her assistant, a young man named Timino, "the Valdris are claiming victory. They say humanity has been taught its place." Yuna smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Many? How many of our people are still out there?" "In alien space? Officially? None. We recalled everyone. I didn't ask about official numbers." Taman looked at his hidden files. 3,000 agents remain in place. They've been deep cover for years. The aliens think they're traitors, students, or refugees. Good. Tell them to watch and wait. Soon they'll have work to do. "Eye on the alien worlds." The celebrations continued. The Valdris Consortium held a great feast to celebrate the death of human democracy. Elder Vorthok raised his drinking. Kuppen spoke to the assembled alien leaders. "Today we saved the galaxy from chaos," he declared. "The humans wanted to destroy our ancient ways. They wanted to give power to species that are barely out of the caves. We showed them that experience matters more than ideals." The other aliens cheered and drank. They believed they had one. But some aliens were worried. Ambassador Nexus of the Krill Empire had spent years working with humans. He knew them better than most of his people. "Something is wrong," he told his aide. "Humans don't just disappear. They don't just accept defeat. This silence... It's not natural." "What do you mean, sir?" "I mean they're planning something. And when humans plan, people die." Back on Earth, the mourning period was ending. The crowds were going home, but they weren't forgetting. In the government buildings, President Su-Min Lee signed the orders that Admiral Daeho Choi had prepared. "Operation Homecoming is complete," she announced to the emergency cabinet. "All humans are back in our space. Now we begin Phase 2. "Are your orders, Madam President?" asked General Kumon. Some men looked at each person in the room. These were the people who would help her do what came next. "Gentlemen, for 50 years we have been peaceful. We have traded with aliens, learned from them, tried to be their friends. We built our reputation as a young, harmless species that just wanted to fit in." She stood up slowly. "That reputation was our greatest weapon, and now it's time to use it." The room was silent. "They killed our leader because they thought we were weak. They thought we would cry and beg and ask for mercy." Her voice became steel. They have no idea what humans do when we stop pretending to be civilized. Outside the memorial to President Kim glowed softly in the night. But in the government buildings, the lights burned bright as humanity prepared for war. The galaxy had wanted to see what humans were really like. Soon, they would get their wish. The morning was over. The fury was about to begin. 6 months had passed since President Kim's death, and the galaxy had grown quiet. The alien species went back to their normal lives, believing the human threat was over. Trade routes that humans had once used were now controlled by the Krill Empire and Nexon Federation. They divided up the profits and congratulated themselves on their victory on the planet Valdris Prime. Elder Vorthok walked through his crystal gardens. The old alien felt pleased with himself. The dangerous human ideas about democracy and equality had been crushed. The galaxy was safe from change once again. "My lord," said his aide, a younger Valdris named Nethes. "The council wants to know if we should claim the human colonies too." Vorthek's compound eyes glittered with greed. "Yes, send our fleets to their outer worlds. If they resist, destroy them. The humans have learned to fear us." But the humans had not learned to fear. They had learned to prepare, deep beneath the surface of Mars. In caverns that had been carved out over decades, Admiral Daeho Choi stood on a platform overlooking the greatest secret in human history. Stretching out before him were rows of starships, like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. "How many are ready?" he asked Captain Borakim. 200 Titan-class dreadnoughts," she replied, reading from her datapad. Each one 3 times larger than anything the aliens have. Destroyer-class ships and 2,000 fighter craft. Daeho nodded slowly. The ships were beautiful and terrible, with black holes that seemed to absorb light. They had been built in secret over 30 years, disguised as mining operations and research stations. Every human world had contributed materials and workers, but no alien had ever suspected what they were really building. And the weapon systems? Dr. Soyoung Nam finished the last tests yesterday. Every ship is equipped with quantum torpedoes, plasma cannons, and the new AI targeting systems. They can fight and win against odds of 10 to 1. On Earth, in a facility hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Soyoung Nam worked on humanity's most dangerous secrets. She was a small woman with quiet eyes, but her mind held knowledge that could shatter worlds. "The nanite swarms are ready," she reported to President Sumin Lee during their weekly meeting. "One container can consume an entire enemy fleet within hours. The quantum bombs can crack a planet's crust. The AI systems can learn alien tactics faster than any living pilot." Sumin listened carefully. These weapons had been developed not from human science alone, but from alien technology that humans had secretly copied and improved over decades of pretending to be peaceful traders. "What about the defense systems?" she asked. "The shield generators use krill energy patterns, but improved. The whole armor is based on Valdris crystal technology, but stronger. We took the best from every species and made it better." In the frozen wastelands of Siberia, Colonel Hayan-Wu trained his soldiers for operations that would span the galaxy. The Ghost Battalion was humanity's most elite fighting force. Soldiers who had been selected and trained for one specific purpose: to fight aliens on their homeworlds. "Listen carefully," Hyun told his troops as they gathered in the training facility. "In 2 months, we will be fighting on 47 different worlds at the same time. Each team will be on their own, with no backup and no retreat. You will have to adapt to alien environments, alien gravity, alien atmospheres." The soldiers nodded. They had been training for this their entire adult lives. They knew every alien species, every weapon, every weakness. They could fight in the crushing gravity of krill worlds or the poisonous atmosphere of Nexan planets. "Remember," Hyun continued, "we are not going to occupy these worlds. We are going to break them. When we are done, the aliens will know what happens when they kill human leaders." Back on Earth, President Sumin Lee met with her war cabinet in the deep bunker beneath New Geneva. The room was filled with maps of the galaxy, showing every alien world, every fleet, every defensive position. Status. Report, she ordered. All human civilians are safe in our space, reported General Kyungwon. The recall operation was completely successful. The aliens think we ran away scared. Our agents report that alien defenses are at minimum levels, added Dr. Unisio. Oh, they're not expecting any kind of attack. Most of their fleets are engaged in trade protection or exploration. The Valdris are planning to attack our outer colonies next week, said Admiral Daeho Cho. They think we'll just surrender without a fight.
Oh.
Sumin smiled coldly. Perfect. Let them come. When they arrive, they'll find our colonies empty except for automated defenses. They're trying to figure out where everyone went. We'll be attacking their home worlds. Ma'am, said Minho Park, who had been promoted to head of presidential. Security? Are we sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back. The galaxy will never trust us again. Trust? Sumin laughed, but there was no humor in it. They murdered our leader during a peace conference. They used banned weapons to kill him and 46 other humans. They're planning to invade our colonies and kill our people. What trust is there left to break? The room fell silent. Everyone knew she was right. Besides, she continued, we tried being trustworthy, tried being peaceful. We tried following their rules and respecting their ancient traditions. Look where it got us. She stood up and walked to the galaxy map. For 50 years, we've been the friendly new species. We've been grateful for their acceptance, humble about our place in the galaxy. We've been everything they wanted us to be. She turned back to face the cabinet. What we were lying. We were never the weak, grateful species. They thought we were. We were the species that conquered our own world through endless wars. We were the species that built weapons that could destroy planets. We were the species that learned to fight and win against impossible odds. So what are we now? Asked General Kyungwon. Now we're the species that's going to teach the galaxy. What happens when you mistake patience for weakness? In the hidden shipyards of Mars, the massive war fleet waited in silence. In the training facilities of Earth, soldiers prepared for battles across the stars. In the secret laboratories, scientists put finishing touches on weapons that would reshape the galaxy. The aliens continued their celebrations, dividing up human trade routes and making plans to conquer human worlds. They had no idea that humanity had spent 6 months preparing for the largest military operation in galactic history. The Valdris fleets were already moving toward human space, confident in their victory. The other alien species watched with interest.
I'm wondering how much of the human territory they would be allowed to claim.
None of them suspected that, in just 2 weeks, every major alien world would be under attack simultaneously. None of them knew that humanity had been preparing for this war for 30 years. None of them realized that the quiet, peaceful humans they had known were about to reveal their true nature. The preparation was complete. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity really was when they stopped pretending to be civilized. The storm was coming. It would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The attack began at exactly 0800 Galactic Standard Time across 47 star systems. Admiral Daeho Choi stood on the bridge of the flagship Retribution as it dropped out of hyperspace above Valdris Prime. Around him, 200 massive human warships appeared like ghosts, materializing from the void. Target acquired, reported Captain Bora Kim from the weapons station. Valdris Defense Fleet consists of 36 vessels. They're trying to form a defensive line. Daeho watched the alien ships scramble to respond. The Valdris vessels were ancient but powerful, with crystal hulls that glowed purple in the starlight. They had ruled the galaxy for 2,000 years and had never lost a major battle. Open communications, he ordered. The view screen flickered to life, showing Elder Vorthak's face. The old alien's compound eyes were wide with shock. What is the meaning of this? Humans don't have warships like these. This is impossible. Hello, Elder Vorthak, Daeho said calmly. Do you remember President Jiho Kim, the man you murdered 6 months ago? The human got what he deserved for threatening our way of life, Vorthak replied, but his voice shook slightly. Cannot defeat us. We are the Valdris Consortium. We have ruled this galaxy since before your species learned to make fire. You're about to learn what happens when you kill our leaders. Deho turned to his weapons officer. All ships, open fire. The human fleet unleashed hell. Quantum torpedoes streaked through space like bolts of blue lightning. Plasma cannons fired beams of superheated energy that cut through alien shields like paper. The Valdris ships tried to return fire, but their ancient weapons barely scratched the human armor. Within minutes, half the alien fleet was destroyed. The survivors tried to retreat, but the human ships were faster. One by one, the Valdris vessels were hunted down and eliminated. Valdris Prime is defenseless, reported the tactical officer. Should we begin orbital bombardment? No, Deho replied. We're not here to destroy their world. We're here to capture their leaders alive. Send down the Ghost Battalion. Colonel Henwu's assault ships swept down through the atmosphere of Valdris Prime like falling stars. The planet's surface was covered in crystal cities that sparkled. In the light of 3 suns, it was beautiful and ancient, a world that had never known the touch of war. Ghost 1 to all units. Hune spoke into his communicator as his ship landed in the capital city. Remember, we want the leadership alive. Everyone else is a legitimate target if they resist. The Ghost Battalion soldiers moved through the crystal. Streets like shadows, wore black armor that bent light around them, making them nearly invisible. Each soldier carried weapons that could punch through alien armor and shields that could stop their energy blasts. The Valdris guards tried to fight back, but they were unprepared for human military tactics. The aliens had grown soft during centuries of peace, while humans had been perfecting the art of war for their entire history. Sector 7 secured, reported Lieutenant Borumley over the radio. Valdris civilian population is fleeing to the outer districts. Sector 3 secured, came another voice. Found the government building. Heavy resistance, but we're pushing through. Han smiled grimly as he kicked down the door to the Valdris Council chamber. Inside, Elder Vorthok and 6 other alien leaders cowered behind an overturned table. You, Vorthok hissed. This is impossible. Humans are peaceful. You don't have the technology for this kind of warfare. We lied, Han said simply. We've been preparing for this war for 30 years, while you thought we were harmless traitors. And diplomats, we were studying your weaknesses and building weapons. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. The Krill Empire's military headquarters on Krill Prime was under siege by General Minsu Jang's ground forces. The tall blue aliens had always prided themselves on their superior tactics, but human soldiers moved with a coordination they had never seen before. How are they doing this? Demanded General Korax, the Krill's supreme military commander, as he watched human forces surround his fortress. Their movements are too precise, too coordinated, Sir reported his aide. Our intelligence suggests they're using artificial intelligence to coordinate their attacks. Each soldier is connected to a central command system that processes information faster than any living mind. Captain Hound Kim led the assault on the Krill fortress, where soldiers moved like a single organism, each one knowing exactly where the others were and what they were doing. When one team encountered resistance, others would flank the enemy from directions that seemed impossible. Breach in the north wall, she reported. Enemy forces are retreating to the central command center. Confirmed, replied her AI assistant, a voice that spoke directly into her helmet. Adjusting tactical formation. Teams 4 and 7 moved to intercept. The Krill had always believed they were the greatest military minds in the galaxy. They had conquered dozens of worlds through superior strategy and tactics. But humans had taken their own tactical knowledge and combined it with AI systems that could process thousands of variables simultaneously. Meanwhile, in the Nexan Federation space, Commander Taiyang O's stealth destroyers were systematically hunting down alien fleets. Small green Nexan had the largest navy in the galaxy, but they had never faced an enemy they couldn't see. Target acquired, reported the tactical officer on O's flagship. Nexan, battlecruiser, heading to -7, -4. Lock quantum torpedoes, O ordered. Fire when ready. The Nexan ship exploded in a ball of fire, its crew never knowing what hit them. Around them, more human ships decloaked and fired, turning the space battle into a massacre. "This is impossible," transmitted the Nexan, Admiral Zalix on all frequencies. "We can't fight enemies we can't see." "How do humans have stealth technology?" No one answered. The human ships continued their deadly work, picking off alien vessels. One by one, back on Earth, President Sumin Lee watched the battle reports come in from the war room. Every screen showed a different star system, and in every system, human forces were winning decisively. "Status report," she requested. "Valdris Prime is secure," reported General Kyun-Wan. "Elder Vorthok and his council are captured. Resistance is minimal." "Krill Prime is under assault," added another officer. "General Zhang reports the capital will fall within hours." "Nexong fleets are being destroyed faster than they can respond," came a third report. "Commander O's stealth squadrons are hunting them down across 6 systems. Sumin nodded with satisfaction. "And the other species?" "Most are trying to stay neutral," replied Dr. Yunasio. "Our agents report panic in their governments, realizing that the humans they knew were not the real humans." "Good," Sumain said. "Open a channel to all alien worlds. It's time they understood what's happening." The transmission went out to every inhabited planet in the galaxy. President Sumin Lee appeared on screens across thousands of worlds, her face calm but her eyes burning with cold fire. "People of the galaxy," she began, "6 months ago, your leaders murdered our president during a peace conference. They used banned weapons to kill him and 46 other humans. They did this because they were afraid of change, afraid of losing their ancient power." The alien populations watched in stunned silence as images of the assassination played behind. "Her! You thought we would accept this. You thought we would be frightened and retreat to our own space. You thought we were weak because we chose to be peaceful." Her voice grew harder. "You were wrong. We were never weak. We were patient. We're waiting. We were preparing." The images changed to show human fleets destroying alien ships, human soldiers capturing alien leaders, human technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. This is what humans are when we stop pretending to be civilized. This is what happens when you mistake our kindness for weakness. This is what you get when you kill our leaders and threaten our people. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In 72 hours, humanity had shattered the military power of the 3 strongest alien species. The ancient order that had ruled for millennia was broken. The unleashing was complete. Now came the reckoning. 3 days after the attacks began, the galaxy was in chaos. Every major news network, every government communication system, every diplomatic channel carried the same shocking reports. Humanity had won. The ancient powers that had ruled for thousands of years were broken. President Sumin Lee stood on the bridge of the flagship, Retribution, as it orbited the shattered remains of the Valdris Defense Fleet. Through the massive windows she could see Valdris Prime below, its crystal city still glowing but now occupied by human forces. "Status report from all fronts," she requested. Admiral Daeho Choi stepped forward with his datapad. "Valdris Prime is completely under our control. Elder Vorthok and his entire council are in custody. Their military capability is destroyed." "Krill Prime has fallen," added General Minsu Jiang via communication link. General Korak surrendered when he realized his fortress was surrounded. "The Krill Empire's high command is captured. The Nexan Federation's fleet is gone," reported Commander Taiyongo from his stealth destroyer. Admiral Xylix was the last to surrender. He's requesting mercy for his surviving crews. Sumin nodded slowly. In 72 hours, humanity had achieved what many thought impossible. The 3 most powerful species in the galaxy were defeated, their leaders captured, their fleets destroyed, and the other species? 44 species have sent messages requesting peace talks, replied Dr. Yuna Seo, who had arrived from Earth that morning. They're terrified that they might be next. Good Sumen said. Fear will make them listen. Open a channel to the SD. Entire galaxy. It's time for the trial. The transmission began from the main courtroom aboard the Retribution. The room had been specially built for this moment, with cameras that would broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Judge Kiwan Bey, a stern man with gray hair and sharp eyes, sat behind the bench. "This court is now in session," he announced. "We are here to try the leaders of the Valdris Consortium, the Krill Empire, and the Nexan Federation for the murder of President Jiho Kim and 46 other humans during a peace conference." Elder Vorthok was brought in first, his 6 legs shackled but his compound eyes still showing defiance. "This court has no authority over me," he declared. I am a member of the ancient Valdris bloodline. I have ruled for 300 years. You were a ruler," Judge Bey corrected. "Now you are a war criminal." The evidence was presented to the galaxy in painful detail. Video recordings showed the assassination from multiple angles. Communication intercepts proved the conspiracy had been planned for weeks. Testimony from captured Valdris officers revealed that the attack was meant to eliminate not just Kim, but all human influence in galactic politics. "The defendant claims he was protecting galactic order," said Prosecutor Gin Wunam, addressing the court in the galaxy beyond. "But the evidence shows he was protecting only his own power. He feared that human ideas about democracy and equality would threaten his ancient privilege." "We saved the galaxy from chaos," Vorthok protested. "Humans were spreading dangerous ideas. Young species were beginning to question the natural order." "The natural order," Judge Bey repeated. "You mean the order where the oldest species rule and the youngest serve? Where might makes right and change is forbidden?" "Yes," Vorthok said proudly. "That is how it has always been." "That is how it was," the judge corrected. "But you made one critical error. You assumed that humanity would accept your judgment. You forgot that we are the species that conquered our own world through war." The trial continued for hours, broadcast live to billions of viewers across the galaxy. General Korax of the Krill tried to claim he was following orders. Admiral Zelix of the Nexan pleaded for mercy, saying his people were forced to participate. But the evidence was overwhelming. The 3 species had conspired together to eliminate human leadership and then divide human territory among themselves. They had planned genocide disguised as politics. "This court finds all defendants guilty of murder, conspiracy, and crimes against sapient life," Judge Bey announced. "However, this court also recognizes that execution would make us no better than those we condemn." The galaxy held its breath. The defendants will spend the rest of their natural lives in human custody, forced to watch as their ancient order is replaced by something better. They will live to see democracy spread across the galaxy. They will live to see young species given the voices they were denied. As the trial ended, President Sumin Lee took the stand to address the galaxy directly. Her image appeared on screens across thousands of worlds, in homes and government buildings, in space stations and alien colonies. "People of the galaxy," she began. "Today you have seen justice, but justice is not enough. We must also have change." Her voice carried the authority of someone who commanded the most powerful military force in galactic history. For too long, this galaxy has been ruled by the oldest species simply because they are old. Age does not equal wisdom. Tradition does not equal justice. Power does not equal right. Murmurs rippled through alien populations watching the broadcast. Some species had been waiting centuries for someone to say these words. "Humanity offers you a choice," Sumin continued. "You can accept a new galactic order based on equality and democracy, where every species has a voice proportional to their population and contribution. Or you can resist and face the same fate as the Valdris Krill and Nexan." The ultimatum was clear, but not cruel. Humanity was offering partnership, not domination. "We do not want to rule you," she explained. "We want to build something better. With you. A galaxy where new ideas are welcomed, where young species are heard, where progress is celebrated instead of feared." Ambassador Nexus of the Krill, who had escaped the attack on Krill Prime, watched the broadcast from his hidden ship. He had known this day would come. Humans were not like other species, did not accept defeat or bow to authority simply. "Because it was ancient," Sir said his aide. "Should we try to organize resistance?" Nexus looked at the battle reports on his screen. In 3 days, humanity had destroyed military forces that had taken millennia to build. They had captured leaders who had seemed untouchable. They had proven that the old order was not as strong as everyone believed. "No," he said quietly, "the humans are right. We had our chance to do things peacefully. We chose violence instead. Now we face the consequences." On dozens of worlds, alien governments held emergency sessions. The choices were stark, but simple. Accept humanity's terms and help build a new galactic order, or face the fury of the most dangerous species in the galaxy. One by one, the acceptances began to arrive. The Zentari Republic was first, their message simple: we accept human terms and look forward to true representation. The Altarian Collective followed, then the Rigel Federation. Within hours, over 30 species had agreed to the new order. Only a few holdouts remained, mostly older species, who still believed in their ancient right to rule. "What about the holdouts?" Admiral HFY asked. "Give them time," Suman replied. "When they see how much better life becomes for the species that join us, they'll change their minds. And if they don't..." She didn't need to finish the sentence. The galaxy had seen what happened to those who opposed humanity. The reckoning was complete. The old galaxy was dead, killed by its own arrogance and fear. In its place, something new was being born. Something that would judge species not by their age, but by their contributions. Something that would welcome change instead of fearing it. The galaxy belonged to humanity now. It's not through conquest, but through the simple fact that they were the only species willing to fight. For true justice, President Kim's dream of equality was about to become reality, built on the foundation of his martyrdom and defended by the fury of his people. 1 year after the war that changed everything, the galaxy looked completely different. The ancient council chambers on Nexus Prime had been rebuilt. But now, instead of curved rows that put the oldest species at the top, there were equal sections. For every member species, the crystal throne where Elder Vorthok had once sat was gone, placed by a simple podium where any delegate could speak. President Suman Lee stood at that podium now, addressing the first session of the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from 68 species filled the chamber more than had ever been allowed in the old council. Young species that had been ignored for centuries now had voices equal to the ancient powers. 1 year ago, this galaxy was ruled by fear, she began, her words carried to every inhabited world by the new communication network humanity had built. Fear of change, fear of new ideas, fear of losing power. That fear led to murder, and murder led to war. In the audience, Ambassador Nexus of the Krill listened carefully. He had chosen to accept the new order and had become one of its strongest supporters. His people had discovered that having an equal voice was better than having absolute power over slaves. Today we celebrate not victory in war, but victory over the ideas that caused that war, Suman continued. We have built something that our galaxy has never seen before. True democracy among the stars. The new Galactic Compact was unlike anything in galactic history. Every species had representation based on their population and their contributions. To galactic society, laws were made by majority vote, not by the whims of ancient rulers. New species were welcomed and given full rights immediately. Admiral Daeho Choi had been elected as the first Supreme Commander of the new Galactic Defense Force. It was a position he had never wanted, but the other species had insisted. They trusted humanity to protect them, because humanity had proven they would fight for justice, not just for power. Sir, reported Captain Bora Kim from the Defense Headquarters on Nexus Prime. The last holdout species have finally requested to join the Assembly. Daeho nodded with satisfaction. The hegemony of ancient worlds had been the final group to resist the new order. They were very old species who believed that age automatically made them superior. But when they saw how prosperous the member species had become, they finally asked to join. Any conditions? They want to keep some of their old traditions, but they accept full democratic participation. Ambassador Kelleen of the Hegemony says her people have learned that wisdom comes from cooperation, not domination. On Earth, Dr. Soyoung Nam worked in her new laboratory, but now her research was shared freely with all allied species. The weapons of war had been transformed into tools of peace. The quantum technology that had once powered planet-cracking bombs now provided unlimited energy to developing worlds. The Zentari fusion reactors are operating at full efficiency, she reported to the Galactic Science Council. Their energy crisis is over. The Altarian medical crisis has been solved with our nanite technology. 3 more species will reach spaceflight capability within the decade, thanks to our shared knowledge. This was the real victory of the New Order, instead of hoarding technology and keeping younger species dependent. The advanced civilizations now shared their knowledge freely. Progress accelerated across the galaxy as species that had been held back for millennia finally had access to the tools they needed. Minho Park had become the head of galactic security, responsible for protecting all species from the kind of conspiracy that had killed President Kim. His agents, both human and alien, worked together to ensure that no group could ever again plan genocide in secret. The old Valdris underground movement has been completely dismantled, he reported to President Lee during their weekly meeting. The last of their supporters have either accepted the new order or been arrested for terrorist activities. Vorthok himself, she asked. Still in prison, still refusing to accept that his time is over. He keeps insisting that the young species will destroy the galaxy without proper guidance from their elders. Sumin smiled sadly. He still doesn't understand. We're not destroying the old galaxy. We're letting it grow up. In the rebuilt cities of Valdris Prime, something remarkable was happening. Young Valdris, who had grown up under the New Order, were working alongside humans, krill, and dozens of other species. They built art galleries that celebrated the cultures of many worlds. Research centers where different types of minds solved problems together, and schools where children learned that diversity was strength, not weakness. Tae-Won Valdris was only 50 years old, and considered a child by his species standards, had been elected as the new leader of Valdris Prime. He stood in the crystal gardens where Elder Vorthok had once planned human destruction, but now the gardens were open to beings from every species. My grandfather fought in the war against humanity, he told a group of young students from a dozen different worlds. He believed that our ancient ways were the only ways. He was wrong. A small human girl raised her hand. But weren't your people very wise? They ruled the galaxy for a long time. Being old doesn't make you wise, Taiwan replied gently. Being willing to learn makes you wise. Being willing to change makes you wise. My people ruled for 2,000 years, but we never grew. Humanity taught us that growing is more important than ruling. On distant colony worlds, species that had never been allowed to expand beyond their home systems now built new cities under foreign suns. The galaxy was experiencing the greatest period of exploration and growth in its history as barriers between species fell away. The Rigel Federation had discovered a new form of mathematics that revolutionized space travel. The Altarian Collective had developed farming techniques that could feed billions. Young species brought fresh perspectives to ancient problems, while old species shared the wisdom of experience. But perhaps the greatest change was in the children. Young beings from every species grew up together, learning each other's languages, sharing each other's games, and building friendships that crossed the boundaries their parents had once fought to maintain. In the Memorial Garden on Earth, where President Jeho Kim's statue stood surrounded by flowers from 100 worlds, Minho Park came to visit as he did every month. The inscription beneath the statue had been expanded since the war's end. Jeho Kim, President of Earth, martyr for democracy, father of the new galaxy. He believed in peace, but prepared for war. His death awakened humanity's fury, but his dream awakened humanity's hope. He died so that all species might be free. Minho placed a white flower at the base of the statue, a tradition that beings from across the galaxy had adopted. Every day, someone came to honor the man whose death had changed everything. You would be proud, Minho whispered to the statue. Your dream came true. All species have a voice now. All species are heard. As he walked away, a group of alien children ran past, playing a game that mixed human, krill, and Zentari rules. They laughed in a dozen different languages, but their joy was universal. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson in its history. Peace was not the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. Democracy was not chaos, but the wisdom of many minds working together. And humanity was not weak because they chose cooperation over domination. President Kim's assassination had been meant to preserve the old galaxy where might made right and tradition crushed innovation. Instead, it had created a new galaxy where justice made right and progress was celebrated. The stars themselves seemed brighter now, illuminated not by the cold light of ancient power, but by the warm glow of shared hope. The galaxy had finally grown up, and it had humanity to thank for forcing that painful but necessary change. In classrooms across 1,000 worlds, children learned the story of how the galaxy had been reborn. They learned that sometimes the greatest victories came not from accepting injustice, but from having the courage to fight for something better. The lesson was simple but profound. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never confuse patience with acceptance, and never test the fury of those who fight for justice. The galaxy had learned, and it would never forget.